Good luck.
Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün ABD'nin en iyi araştırma üniversitelerinden University of Arkansas eğitim fırsatlarını Lia, Carl ve Emilia'dan dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı questions kısmından sormayı unutmayın. Yes, Carl, the stage is yours now.
All right, thank you, Zeynep. Good evening, everyone, or good morning if you happen to be joining us from Arkansas, like myself and two colleagues are. My name is Carl Anderson, and I am the Assistant Director for International Student Recruitment here at the university. And I'm joined today by Dr. Leah Bergman-Lanier and Amelia Sarma. And I will let them at a later point in the presentation introduce themselves more fully, but they're going to help today with our presentation. And I'm going to start, first of all, by giving you or showing you a brief introduction video to the University of Arkansas and to the community of Fayetteville, where we're located in Northwest Arkansas. I'm going to play that video, and then I'm going to start sharing our presentation, and I'll show a very brief map just to give you some orientation as to where Arkansas is, and then where the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville is located. And then at that point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bergman-Lanier to talk about the Spring International Language Center and the programs that they offer. And then I'll come back on at a later moment and talk about the University of Arkansas. And then Amelia will join us towards the end to give her perspective as a current international student studying here at the University of Arkansas. And throughout, she'll be helping to answer any of the questions that might be posted online. So please feel free to post your questions on the chat. And Amelia can kind of answer those as we go through. But then at the end, we'll have time to answer questions more thoroughly as well. So what I'm going to do right now is share this video. So just one moment. All right. All right, so that was a short video introducing the University of Arkansas and the surrounding area. I'm going to share my screen now, and as I mentioned earlier, share a short map, or not share a short map, but share a map to give you an idea of where we're located. Just one moment here. All right, hopefully everyone can see the presentation now. And so today we're going to be talking about pathways to graduate and undergraduate studies, sort of a how-to guide. And throughout the presentation, we'll be sharing pictures from here on campus, at the Spring International Language Center. But this is the map I wanted to share, and it just gives you a little bit of a reference for where the state of Arkansas is located, right here in the south central part of the United States. I always tell students if they don't know where Arkansas is, I ask them if they know where Texas is, and almost everyone knows where Texas is. And so that's a good reference point right here. And then Fayetteville, Arkansas, in the northwest corner of the state here, is where the University of Arkansas is located. And I'll talk at the end of the presentation just briefly in a little bit more detail about Fayetteville. But right now what I want to do is turn the presentation over to Dr. Bergman Lanier to introduce the Spring International Language Center and to talk about the opportunities for you all there. Leah?
Good afternoon, Turkey. Watching that video always kind of sort of warms my heart a little bit. I'm from California, which is what a lot of people call one of the best places to live in the United States. And I want to tell you that I was a bit of a narrow-minded Californian who believed that until I visited the University of Arkansas. And I was just delighted. And that video really gives you a feeling for what this place is like. That's not just a promotional video. It's in fact what it's like here. We have 4 seasons. It's a very robust culture. There's art, there's music, there's theater. And in some ways, it's like all of the advantages of a big city, but in a small college town that makes you feel at home and welcome. And it was a surprise for me because the United States is very big. And I was from the West Coast. And so in my mind, the only things I think about in the United States are the West Coast, California, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and the East Coast, New York, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, Florida. And for me, that was the United States until I came to visit here. And I only came on a visit. And in less than 48 hours, I decided to move here. And it's just a wonderful place. And it's a particularly wonderful place for international students because it's manageable. It's a very strong university. We are about to have our 150th anniversary. And in 1992, we opened Spring International Language Center here at the University of Arkansas to create a pathway for international students to be able to enter the University of Arkansas before they were fully proficient in English. And what that pathway does, it allows you to apply to the University of Arkansas before you have totally fluent English. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that process. But what Spring International does is kind of 4 things, almost 5 now. We prepare international students to be successful in undergraduate and graduate degrees. So many of our students graduate with PhDs, master's degrees, and bachelor's degrees. The other thing that we do is we help those students transition culturally. So we do lots of cross-cultural and leadership work and community work so that students are involved here in the community. We assist professionals who just want to come here and study English. Sometimes people come here and only study English and go back home or go on to other universities. And we basically teach anybody who's interested in improving their communication skills cross-culturally. And language learning is kind of like a new window to the world. And in 1970, before all of you were born, probably, or most of you, I put a pack on my back and I began to travel. And that was the first time I visited Turkey. And Istanbul was like this, wow, you know, amazing place. And I fell in love with your country. And we're hoping that when you come here to the United States to study, that we will be a place that embraces you the way I felt embraced back in the 70s. And I have had the good fortune to visit Turkey now probably 5 or 6 times over the years. And it's one of my, people always ask me, what's my favorite place to travel? And you're high on that list. So I would like to be able to welcome you here the way I felt welcomed in Turkey. And we have had many students from Turkey. The Ministry of Education in Turkey sends many students to Spring International Language Center to study English before they begin their degree programs. So scholarship students, like some of you might be in the future, are able to come here. Next slide. You're the slide sharer. There we go. Thank you. And the reason, back one. The reason that, can you go back one? Thank you. These students all started in various levels of the English language program, and this was graduation day when they finished their various degrees. Some of these people finished bachelor's and master's and PhDs, and they are from 13 countries. So we have strong academic programs. It's a very safe and comfortable place to live. We have 4 seasons. 4 days ago, we were covered with snow, and yesterday it was sunny and warm. And we could go outside without a jacket. And so if you don't like the weather, you have to just wait a few hours and it changes. People also like Arkansas and Spring International and Fayetteville because it has a low crime rate and has a good cost of living. So we hope that this will be a place where we can meet your goals. And that's what we want to do today, is help you see how to get to your goals. Next. So when you're looking for programs, you want to go and find programs that have strong student support services. Well, how do you know that? Well, I think you will begin to know that because when you begin to communicate with us, whether it's the English program or the university, we will communicate with you rapidly. And we will be there to support your journey through your application to the English program and from the English program into your academic programs. And because of the friendly community and because you can be admitted to the University of Arkansas without an IELTS score or without a TOEFL score. That's the pathway. When you get here then, we get you through the program so that you can make it into your degree program. Some people are only in the English program for 3 months, some for 6 months, some for a year, some for a year and a half. And that depends on their level of English when they begin. And the people who are just here for a brief period of 9 weeks, those are people who just want to polish and be really ready. So they do our advanced level before they begin the university. We have only, our classes are small. Mostly they average around 10. And I think that Small classes will help you to progress quickly. And that's also true at the University of Arkansas that Carl will talk about shortly. Next. So when you're choosing an English program or when you're choosing a university, you want to make sure that we meet your goals, that we can help you do that. And so after you've made your choice that you want to come here, know that we're going to help you through that process. Next. So what is conditional admissions and what is this pathway that we've been talking about? And what this pathway is essentially you must make your application to the university, and if your application meets the academic requirements, which means your grades are good enough, and you have the appropriate financial support, that the university will send you what we call a letter of conditional admission. That letter says, you're admitted to the University of Arkansas through the English language program, and when you meet the advanced levels of the English program, you can finish and go right into the university without any language scores. Or sometimes students in our intermediate levels take the TOEFL and they pass and they begin, because I wear more than one hat. I am the director of the Intensive English Language Program, but I am also the director of the credit English language courses at the university, so that in your first semester, you can take support courses that you receive academic credit. And those are for graduate and undergraduate students. So you have this way of doing your English, meeting the admissions requirement, and either voluntarily or by requirement taking some more English language classes while you are taking academic classes for your degree. So you have lots of ways of being admitted finally, either with a test or without a test. Next. So when you're conditionally admitted, and Carl, if you want to follow me over the top, where Carl is up in the corner of this diagram, that's when you've received your admission to the University of Arkansas conditionally, or if you have your English already, you fully met the English requirement, you go right across the top. It says you don't need English, you get fully admitted, you go to the University of Arkansas, all the way across to that lovely little seal, right? Now, if you're a conditional admit, then you go across the top to where it says English, and then you go down, you're conditionally admitted, and on your first day, we test you. And you'll see here that we have 7 levels, from basic all the way to very advanced courses for graduate students. And these are your English level. And so we give you a test. And maybe you place in level 4, okay? Level 4 is where we are teaching you to write essays and be comfortable speaking at the high intermediate level. And then level 5 and 6 are the advanced levels. And when you complete those levels, you go and you are fully admitted to the University of Arkansas. So it's a very smooth, clear process. It's not complicated, and we are here to answer your questions about how to go through that pathway. Next. So let me review this one more time, right? You meet the academic requirements, you meet the financial requirements, but you do not meet the English requirement. You can still get a conditional admission. And then, if you move down on the slide a little bit, you either can complete the English program and go in with no more test requirements, or while you are in the English program, you can still try the IBT or the IELTS or the TOEFL, and you can go in maybe sometime sooner. Although we advise that you do the language program, you have choices. Next. So this is the English language program, and you saw across the bottom of the last chart all the levels, and this tells you what classes you will have in the English language program. So if you are in the beginning, basic to intermediate levels, we teach grammar and writing together, and we teach reading and vocabulary together because reading supports your vocabulary. And then we teach listening and speaking and conversation and pronunciation skills together all the way across the program. And you can see, if you go to the middle, Carl, where it says basic sentence level on the left in the middle, we go from basic sentence level to paragraph level to essay level to documented and essays and term papers. So when you are in the advanced levels, we teach reading and writing together, because to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader and have lots of vocabulary. And then we teach applied grammar, which is just about organization of the language, and then listening and speaking again. But in the advanced levels, we are teaching you to do academic presentations and seminar speaking skills, because that's what you will need as a student. And our classes are 25 hours a week. And if you want to go to the next slide, Carl. So we teach English. Each level is 9 weeks. And each week is 25 hours of classes. And in addition to those classes, we have people who will, your teachers have office hours. We also have what we call a help desk. So if you're having a problem with something specific, you can come to the help desk and make an appointment for one-on-one with any instructor. And we have conversation partners with American students. So we have cultural activities, community activities, and we believe really strongly in community service. So Spring International students go out into the community and have an opportunity to interact not only with university students, but with people in the community, and sometimes in related things to their fields. So if you're in environmental anything, we do lots of outdoor activities and sustainability activities. And we also do cross-cultural understanding, and we love to talk about civic responsibility. And that gets you to be part of the community. We encourage you, and we walk you through it. We are there to support you. So it's not only academic support, but it's personal support, it's cultural support, it's community support, and integration into the campus, so that by the time you begin your degree program, you're part of everything. And yesterday, Amelia and I were walking across the campus, and it was a university holiday yesterday called Spring Break, but there were still students around, and it's just a wonderful environment and a very beautiful campus. Next. So next, Carl. So I talked a little bit about the individual support and office hours by the faculty, and I also talked about the health desk and the conversation club. We also have computer labs in the English Language Institute that have very specific language learning software. So you can practice your reading and speed reading, and you can practice vocabulary and a variety of your skills in our labs, but you can also use the general labs around the campus. And some of our students, because they really want to take the TOEFL, we do IBT and IELTS workshops for our intermediate to advanced students who still want to take the test, even though they don't have to. Next. So I was talking about the student activities we do. You can tell that the one on the lower right has been since the pandemic. We had a picnic, and we were spaced all over the grass and the trees on campus. We also have what we call our student council. And at every level of the program, we have a group of students who are elected to be part of the student council. And they are our student governing body, because we believe that leadership is very, very important. And you'll see that was Silk. When was that? July 4th. We used fireworks. And so they were spelling S-I-L-C, Silk, we call ourselves, Springer International Language Center. So these people have been on our student council. We do international days, so people come in their native dress. So you see people from all over the world. And you think you are coming to the University of Arkansas or the United States to meet Americans. But in fact, you come and you meet the world here, because there are students from 118 countries studying at the University of Arkansas. Next. Okay, we did that one. Yeah, we talked about the conversation partners in the student council and the community activities and all the support services. And that's what you want, because you want somebody to be there. Amelia and I were talking yesterday also about how challenging the first few weeks are when you're a new student. And we're here to make that an easier transition. Going to a new culture is always a learning experience. And if you come here, I'll tell you my very funny cross-cultural studies about mistakes I made when I was in Turkey. And what I learned from my cross-cultural experiences in Turkey. Next.
You want to share your video?
I'm going to transition you now to Carl, but before I do that, Carl, if you want to stop sharing, I'm going to show you some photographs of the Institute. It's not fancy with lots of music, but I wanted to show you where the Language Institute lives. We are right in the middle of the campus, and I'm going to, where's my share screen place? I'm going to put this up. Let's see, put this up. And I believe I'm sharing my screen. And here you go. So here, I'll talk a little bit while it's going, but you'll be able to see all of the places in our little institute.
I can't see the screen, Leah. I don't know if anyone else.
Yep. Stop. How do I stop? Hold on. Uh-oh. Huh, that's weird. You did it before. Okay, let's try this again. Uh-oh, I lost it. Excuse me, everybody, technical moment. Can you see what I'm doing now?
No, unfortunately, we cannot see.
Yeah, okay. If you can't see what I'm doing, that means that the screen isn't sharing. Okay, let me try again. Weird.
Leah, if it's something that you can send to Amelia or I, we may be able to make it work on our end, and we can show the slides at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
Why don't you email to Amelia, and then I can go through the rest of the presentation, and then we can hopefully make it work at the end.
How weird. I mean, it worked when we tested it. Okay, let me try one more time.
Okay.
Not happening, is it?
You are not. You are trying to share your entire screen, Leah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see my inbox right now?
No,
Nope.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so it's for some reason it's not sharing. I'll send
Go
it.
ahead and send it to Amelia, and then she can get it ready to go. I'll go in and finish the presentation, and then at the end we'll show those.
Okay, wait a minute. I think I figured out the problem.
Oh, there it goes.
Now you have it 20 times. Okay, where'd it go?
So you have to just open the video, Leah.
Yeah.
No, you stop sharing.
You stop sharing now.
Now I'm just getting all these 20 times here. Yeah. I'm just having technical difficulties. I'll stop sharing. You go, and I will bring it up. You see that I am not the most technologically advanced human being here today, so I'm going to stop sharing, and we'll show.
And send it to Amelia if you can, and that way both
Amelia,
of you.
you can introduce it. That sounds great.
Yeah,
she was there yesterday. All right.
So
Thank you all very much, and I wish you lots of luck in your journey. And before I turn this totally over to Carl, I'd like to give you one very, very, very important tip. Okay? You come from a country where you need to have everything ready before you can move or do anything. And so what I want to do is I want to tell you the most important thing that you want to do is after this video, if you're interested in the University of Arkansas and Spring International, or just the University of Arkansas without Spring International, you go to the application page of the university and you fill out the application, and that starts the process. You don't need anything else to open your file. And once you open your file, we are there to help you through the process. And then you can upload your grades, and then you can upload your financial documents, and then you can upload test scores. But right now, that's how you get started. And oftentimes we say, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that tomorrow. And you can open a file and never come here, or you can open a file and begin to take your journey. And I highly recommend that you do that and get started. And you can go up this pathway that's on this slide right now and join us here at the university and let us help you through the application process.
All right.
So there you go. I'm going to turn this over to Carl now.
All right. Thank you, Leah. And we will cover the application process as well towards the end of this presentation. So if there's any additional questions that you might have about that, feel free to ask. So this walkway that Leah was mentioning is called our senior walk. And let's assume that you've applied into either SILC, the Spring International Language Center, directly, or perhaps you applied into the University of Arkansas and were admitted conditionally. You've gone through the SILC program, you've completed that program successfully, and now you're ready to transition into the University of Arkansas. So you've gone through that pathway that Leah was describing. So the reason that I often start presentations talking about senior walk is because for me, this represents the ultimate goal for students that come to the University of Arkansas. The senior walk is over 8 kilometers long, and it winds its way through our campus, and it contains the name or names of every single graduate from the University of Arkansas. Whether you have a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, or all three, you will have your name put onto the sidewalk here on campus. And so the ultimate goal for students is not to have their name put into the sidewalk or etched into the sidewalk, but rather what that represents. And what that represents is the culmination of your time here on campus and the completion of your degree. Hopefully not the culmination of your time on campus, because we want you to come back after you graduated to bring your families back, to walk around campus and show them your name on campus and share with them the memories that you made while you were here on campus. But The senior walk and all of the names etched into it represent all of the students that have come here and worked hard and formed community, made friends, and have successfully completed their program of study. So that's why I start with this. The University of Arkansas was founded in 1871, and this senior walk is just one of the many traditions that we have here on campus. We are truly an international campus as well. We have just over 1,200 international students from between 112 and 118 different countries. And Senator J. William Fulbright, who was the founder of the Fulbright Scholars Program, was our university president and later a state and national representative for the state of Arkansas. Amelia came here as a Fulbright scholar, and I know that when she speaks with you, she can share a little bit more about what that meant to her and for her. But we are truly an international campus. And as Leah mentioned, when you come to the University of Arkansas, when you come to Silk, you might come here thinking you're going to meet American students, and we hope that you do. But you will also, as she said, meet the world. With 112 different countries represented, you will truly be able to meet people from around the world, all 50 states. We are a large public university. We have about 27,500 students studying with us. Most of those are undergraduate or bachelor's degree seeking students, but about 4,000 of our students are graduate students, which means they're pursuing either a master's or a PhD degree, or maybe a short-term graduate certificate program. Our 1,200 international students are split almost evenly between undergraduate and graduate students. About 610 of our international students are pursuing a bachelor's degree, and then about 590 are again pursuing either a master's, PhD, or perhaps even a graduate certificate program. Because we are a large public university, we have actually over 200 academic programs to choose from. And we are what is called a high research intensive university, meaning our faculty and our graduate students and even some of our undergraduate students are actively engaged in cutting edge research here on our campus. And even though we are a large university, we're able to maintain a faculty to student ratio of approximately 1:19. And that's important for you, whether you are an undergraduate student or a graduate student, because it means not only are you able to get to know the fellow students in your classes, but you're also able to get to know your faculty, your professors, and you're able to develop relationships with your faculty and your students over time. And that just helps to enhance the educational experience that you have here on our campus. And one of the things that the University of Arkansas really does well at and feels is very important for students is to create a sense of community on campus. And we'll talk about other ways to do that through involvement on campus in just a moment. But one of the ways that the university strives to create that community is by offering a very low faculty to student ratio and encouraging you to interact with your faculty and students in class and outside of class as well. So one of the ways that the university encourages students to build community, to get to know one another, to build relationships and friendships is through involvement on campus. We have about 350 student organizations, registered student organizations on campus. And many of those are international-based organizations or international student organizations. This is just a small list of some of the international student groups on campus. And through involvement in these groups, you can develop your soft skills, your leadership skills, your communication skills, your organizational skills. And these just also help you to meet people, to make friendships. But maybe you join one of our international student organizations or one of our other registered student organizations and you become the president or vice president of the group, or the treasurer or communications director. And this involvement helps you to develop your skill set outside of your academic skill set. But it also helps you to integrate into the campus and become involved and form friendships and relationships that ultimately help you to be more successful during your time here on campus as well. So we really do encourage you to join a student organization. Maybe you want to get involved in campus student government. There are also organizations outside of campus in the Fayetteville community and within Northwest Arkansas that you can become involved with, volunteer communities, food banks, etc. And we can help you, and the International Students and Scholars Office on campus can help you, find ways to get involved, can help you find ways to live your, your passions here on campus and within the community. Speaking of the International Students and Scholars Office, we want you to also, of course, be successful as a student here on campus. And being involved and developing community is one aspect of that, but also making sure that you have the academic, emotional, and social and health resources is another way that we do that. To start with, we have our International Students and Scholars Office, or ISS, which in addition to providing orientation for all of our new international students the week before classes start each spring and fall, also offers immigration resources, student programming. They become, as I sort of described them, your home away from home while you're here on campus. We also have, of course, as Leah has already talked about, the Spring International Language Center, our intensive English language program for you. We have our Holcomb Living Learning Community, which is just one of our many residence halls here on campus that is set up to where approximately half of the students are domestic students and half are international students. And it's an intentional environment where students can learn from one another, learn about each other's cultures and backgrounds through food festivals, other cultural sharing opportunities. We also have our Class Plus academic support services. This includes our academic resources, so our Quality Writing Center, our Math Tutoring Center, our Enhanced Learning Center, and of course we also have our Pat Walker Health Center on campus as well, which helps to serve your health, emotional and social needs. Mental health and mental well-being is very important to the university, and making sure that you have the resources that you need on campus to be happy and healthy. And then I already mentioned the new student orientation that we have. And this orientation is designed so that by the time classes start, whether you're joining us in the spring or in the fall semester, you have already, in many cases, met some of your faculty. You've gotten everything that you need to set up your residence hall room or your off-campus apartment. You've met community members, you've met fellow international students and other domestic students here on campus. You've started to make those friendships that are important. You know where your classes are going to be meeting that first day and that first week. And so that first day, you're ready to go and hit the ground running, and hopefully some of that anxiety and nervousness that you may have felt when you first arrived on campus a week earlier has been alleviated some. This is the general undergraduate and graduate application process that Leah spoke about a few moments ago. I want to stress that you can submit everything online, as Leah mentioned. You can begin your application process, but you do not have to finish it right away. So you can begin the process, you can complete what you're able to at that point, and then you can save your application and go back and complete it, or you can submit your application. And by application, I mean your basic application, name, program you're applying into, that sort of information, basic academic background. You can submit that, and then what that allows you to do is access your online student applicant portal. And from there, you'll be able to easily see what is remaining to complete your application, maybe your transcripts, test scores, and you can upload those documents, or at least some of those documents, from there. But generally speaking, you will need to submit an online application, an application fee, which is $60. You'll need to submit your official academic records. You will need to submit either a TOEFL or IELTS or PTEA, proof of English proficiency score, or you can also just apply as a conditional admit into the university, knowing that you're going to be going through the Spring International Language Center first, or if you don't meet the minimum TOEFL or IELTS or PTEA score, you can also be conditionally admitted.
Yeah. There's another place also on the application that said, do you need English language training? And
right.
So you don't really have to submit a score at the time of your application. Or if you're planning to take the test moving forward, you just check off that box, and when your score comes in, it gets sent here. Right. One of the other things I will add to what Carl's saying about the application process is we send you automatically, as you add things to your application over time, what we call still needs letter that says, thank you, we have this now, we have this now, we still need this. And that way we can be your coach. And I always say that in life, one of the most important things for all of us is I think about my mentors and we become your coach. And that's my favorite job.
If you are an undergraduate student, we encourage you to submit SAT or ACT scores. And I'll talk more about that here in just a moment. If you are applying as a graduate student, a master's or PhD student, you'll need to submit the appropriate standardized test score. In most cases, that's going to be the GRE or the graduate record exam. It may be the GMAT if you're applying into the Graduate School of Business, or the LSAT if you're interested in law school. And prospective graduate students will also need to submit letters of recommendation. Most programs on campus require 3. I would recommend that at least one of those, if not more, come from a current or former professor, instructor, someone that can speak to your academic background and abilities. And then most programs will also require a personal statement or statement of purpose. It could be something that the program very specifically is asking you to write about, a specific topic, question, maybe it's writing about your research interests, or it could be just a generalized essay where you're talking about yourself, your academic and career goals, why you're interested in pursuing a graduate degree, etc. And then if you're applying for a graduate assistantship funding opportunity, you would also submit the application at that point as well. It's
Carl,
important.
Can I interrupt again for 1 second?
Just 1 second while because I have this on my mind. It's important to begin the application process as early as you can, because you don't want to rush anything that you're doing. This is especially true if you're having to collect letters of recommendation or a personal statement, write a personal statement or personal essay. And it's also important as a graduate student to reach out to the graduate program that you're intending to apply into, to the graduate program coordinator, to learn more about the program, their specific GRE score requirements, what they may want to see you address on your personal statement or within the letters of recommendation. And we can help you make connection to the graduate program. If you have a specific program you're interested in, you can reach out to myself or to Amelia, and we can help connect you to the graduate program coordinator. And it's very important that you do that before you begin the application process as a graduate student, because again, you can learn a lot about the program, what they're looking for in a successful candidate into the program, and also they can help you connect with faculty within the program to learn more about the research that's going on in the program. And that in turn can also often help in terms of finding that graduate assistantship funding. Leah, go ahead if you have some.
Two things I will add to that. Right now, due to the pandemic, many universities, including the University of Arkansas, are, and many departments, not all, but many, are starting to waive the GRE and the GMAT and some of those graduate test requirements just because it's become more inconvenient to get them and get scores in a timely manner. So that's another reason that it becomes important to check the requirements as grad students. Undergraduate students, that's not as critical, but certainly for graduate students, that's an important thing. The second thing I will add is your statement of purpose is also one of the most important pieces of information you can share with any university if you're seeking a PhD, because you have to have a research match. And as a master's degree student, that's important, but not as critical as if you're seeking a PhD. So that's why the graduate coordinators are so helpful. And what our offices do is they all talk to each other, so that if you have questions, we can put you in touch with them, as Carl has mentioned. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of those initial communications. And that's why we're here to help you with your pathway.
And right now you can go to the International Admissions homepage or to the graduate school homepage, and Amelia can share both of those links. And you can see a list of our current COVID-19 responses and resources. And right now we have all of the programs that have either agreed to waive the test scores or defer them through fall of 2021. So summer 2021 and fall 2021, all of those programs are listed there, so you can see what programs have and how they are handling the test scores. These are the application deadlines. These are graduate school deadlines, and for undergraduate students, they are set deadlines. So June 1st for the fall semester, October 1st for spring semester, March 1st for summer. If you are a prospective graduate student, however, you will need to check with your academic program to see if they have a separate, often earlier deadline, because many graduate programs do. So if you're applying for the fall semester and the program you're applying into says that their deadline is May 1st, that's the deadline that you want to meet in terms of having all of your materials in. So again, that's another reason why as a graduate student, it's very important to reach out and have those conversations with the graduate programs. So one thing that I want to talk about briefly before I close is we do have funding opportunities for students here on campus. For undergraduate students, we do have sort of your traditional scholarships that you can apply for. For graduate students, I've already mentioned graduate assistantships. For undergraduate students and for graduate students, when you're completing your application, you will be asked if you intend to apply for scholarship consideration or whether you intend to apply for graduate assistantship consideration. For undergraduate students, there are scholarships available for new incoming freshman students who are entering during the fall semester. And the scholarship deadline is November 1st to February 1st of each year. And the key is to apply early, to try to get all of your materials and everything in by the first part of November, because scholarship applications are reviewed as they come in. And the scholarship office will look at your incoming grades, your SAT or ACT scores. So if you are applying for scholarships as an undergraduate, you do need to submit SAT or ACT scores. And then they will also look at, you will be required to submit a personal essay as part of the scholarship application. For graduate students, we would recommend that you look for a graduate assistantship. A 50% or half-time assistantship is 20 hours a week. It is typically either a teaching-based or research-based assistantship, where for 20 hours a week, in addition to your academic program of study, you're working, and in return, your tuition is paid for. You receive a monthly cost of living stipend for rent, meals, utilities, etc. And then the program also typically pays up to 60% of your student insurance charge. You would be in charge of paying your student fees and then about 40% of your insurance charge. What I recommend for students who are interested in learning more about scholarships or graduate assistantships is to email either myself or Amelia, and we can give you some more specific detailed information on what that funding looks like, the application process, etc. Just know that we do have some funding available for our students wishing to study with us. And so finally, we are located, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, in Fayetteville, Arkansas, in the northwest corner of the state. We have about 87,000 people living here within Fayetteville itself. We're in the Ozark Mountains of Northwest Arkansas. We're a beautiful kind of rolling hills in the spring and summer and early fall. It's very heavily forested. In the fall, the leaves begin to change color and it becomes very beautiful. And we do have typically, not using last week as an example, we usually on average have about 218 days of sunshine per year. We have a fairly mild climate here, but as Leah mentioned earlier, we do enjoy all 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter. And so we do encourage you to join us. These last 3 pictures here, this picture here is Old Main, the oldest building on our campus, finished in the late 1870s. This middle picture here is the Fayetteville Farmers Market, which runs from about May through October of each year. And then this street here is a picture of Dixon Street, which is one of the main streets just off of campus. There's a lot of restaurants, clubs, shops that students enjoy, including this building right here, which is a very, very large used bookstore, the Dixon Street Bookstore, which is a wonderful place just to get lost in and spend a Saturday morning or afternoon looking at books. So we do encourage you to join us here in Fayetteville. We feel that we know that we have all of the resources and opportunities for students to be successful. We have a pathway program for you through the Spring International Language Center and into and through the University of Arkansas. We're always available for questions, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And that's my contact information and Leah's contact information. I'm going to leave this up for just a few moments so that you can write that down if you wish, but I also want to make sure now that we have time for questions. So thank you all very much.
All of our contact information is also in the chat.
Yes,
so
okay.
I'll get it from there.
I'll go ahead and stop sharing that. All right. What kind of questions?
Maybe Amelia would like to.
Yeah, would you like me to try to share Dr. Lanier's video?
Well,
oh, yes.
Yeah, share my video, but you could also maybe tell them what it's like to be a student here.
I will, for sure. Let me try and just share my screen. And hopefully, are you able to see the video?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Lanier. So this is where Silk is located. This is Gregson Hall. And so Dr. Lanier, you want to talk a little bit about that?
The hallway leading there on the left, those are computers. And this is one of our classrooms. And there's little spaces to sit and move around. That's a little computer lab area. This is a student library that we have, and a faculty area for you to meet with your teachers. This is a little conference room. You can see the beautiful windows. We have great light. And again, part of the library and classroom space and our offices and the faculty offices. And it just, when you see that Einstein, that's my office. It's the messy one. And this is another computer lab. We're right in the middle of campus. And that's where we are. So we're excited to have you be among us. It's a little oasis. And what's very much fun about our location is that students who've already finished the English language program and are getting their degree program just stop by for coffee. And they come back to visit, and they're still a part of our community. Spring International is like a giant family. Oh.
And Amelia, do you want to share just briefly the experiences of being a student here and a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here with us today. I've been answering your questions in the questions tab, but keep asking us questions if you have them. As Dr. Lanier said in the chat, we love questions. So whatever comes up, whatever pops into your mind, just make sure to ask us, and also email us if you need additional assistance afterwards.
Where are you from, Amelia?
So I'm a Fulbright scholar. I'm from Latvia, which is a small country in Northern Europe, and I came here as a Fulbright scholar in 2016. But my Fulbright funding was only available for 1 year. So after 2016, I transitioned into a graduate assistant role. So besides doing my doctoral degree in comparative literature and cultural studies, I'm also working on campus for 20 hours a week. And I receive a tuition waiver as a result, and I also receive a monthly stipend, and part of my health insurance is paid for. So a graduate assistantship allows you to work and get job experience hands-on on campus in your field. Sometimes that's in a teaching position where you teach undergraduate students, or sometimes it's in a research position if you're in a STEM field and you work in a lab. And sometimes it's administrative positions on campus or other positions related to your field, like mine is, where I work with Carl in international recruitment. And so the first thing that I kind of felt when I came to the University of Arkansas, not knowing anything about Arkansas at all when I got here, was just this really wonderful sense of feeling welcome and feeling the warmth of the people here, and how much I was sort of wanted on campus, how much people wanted to learn about my culture, about where I'm from, and recognizing how much I have to share. So that's something that we really value in our international students, because you bring the world to our campus. So we get to know places that some of us might have never have heard of before. I know that that was my experience coming to the University of Arkansas from a very small country. Now I have friends from all over the world, from places that I have never been to, but I feel like I know where my friends are from, just because I've gotten to know these all these places all over the world through my friends that I've met here on campus. So that's been a wonderful experience. And I think that as an international student, usually, we're focused on what kind of education can we get, what kind of academic support we can get abroad at a university, which is all very important. But sometimes we don't realize how much we can actually gain from the experience of just being on a campus like the University of Arkansas that is so international and so full of people from various different places around the globe. So I definitely can say that I've learned as much from the other international students that I've met and international faculty members that I've met here, as much as I've learned from my actual academic degree program. So the adjustment to getting here and settling into the University of Arkansas was not as difficult as I expected, just because we do have so much support for incoming international students. From the moment that you land and you get to the airport, you have support. You have people to get you to campus, to get you settled in wherever it is that you might be living. I live off campus. I live about 15-minute walk uphill from campus. And I also live right next to a bus stop. All of our buses are free. And so there's so many different ways to get around and to get to campus. So there's somebody to walk you through every single step of the way during that transition period. So that made me feel like, okay, I'm not lost here, on the other side of the planet. I have people to support me, to help me adjust, and to feel like I'm a part of this campus community. We have a lot of international student organizations on campus, several of which I've been a part of as well. And that's a great way to connect to other students and to share your culture and your story, and to be able to learn from one another as well. The most fun part about that is probably trying everybody's food, everybody's national cuisine. That's always my personal favorite part. I think once you are on this campus, it's it's really hard not to fall in love with the campus. And some of you have said, you know, when you watch the video that Carl played in the beginning, how lovely the campus is, and thank you for that. But it's 100 times better when you're on this campus and you get to experience the people and just this really welcoming Arkansas culture.
You know, I think one of the things, you know, when I came here 30 years ago, the last thing I expected was to stay here. I just came for a visit as a visiting faculty, and for a very brief weekend. And before I knew it, I was moving here. It's kind of magnetic, you know. It's a great place to live.
Yeah, because it's very quiet and it's very peaceful, while at the same time there's always things to do. I feel like we're a little bit of like a hidden gem, because people might think that, you know, we're a fairly small college town, but actually it's, you know, it's so vibrant, it's so full of things to do that you probably wouldn't be able to do everything and take advantage of every single opportunity that we have here, just because, you know, there's just so much. So the one thing that I always tell international students who are about to apply or who are coming here is just try to do as much as possible. Try to have as many different experiences as you can, you know, from going to the Crystal Bridges Museum to going to nearby towns like Eureka Springs and Bentonville, where the Walmart headquarters are, to going to our farmers market and the Walton Arts Center, which has Broadway musicals on there and everything. There's just so much culture and so many great things to do.
It's funny, in a big city, you know, stuff is right in front of us all the time. I'm from Los Angeles, so that tells you a lot, right? And there was always stuff available, but you didn't do it because it was always right there. Here, you think it's not going to come back, so everything that happens, you want to try. And I find myself busier here than I was in a big city, partly because I never know when things are coming, but in fact, there's always something happening. It's kind of amazing, the experiences. I've met 2 US presidents in this town, and that's because people come through to visit, and we're and people are accessible. I think that's another good word that describes this community. It's accessible. And that means you can find people and the people you need, and famous people who come through, they're right there in front of you. It's amazing, you know. I had the honor of meeting people that I would have never imagined if I was in LA or San Francisco that I would have had those opportunities. So it's intimate, accessible and intimate.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Amelia, you've answered, and Leah too, a lot of the questions that have been posed. I want to be mindful of time, but are there any questions that anybody has? Either.
Mm-hmm. So there are a couple of questions that were asked that I thought it would be good for Dr. Lanier to address. So we have a question from Faiza. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that correctly, but Faiza asked, can students receive credits while they're studying in the intensive English language program?
That's a very good question. Because my role is the executive director of the intensive English program, which is Spring International. That's the pre-academic program. And then my other role is the director of English language and cultural studies, which are the credit English language courses. So it depends where you are in your proficiency. You can begin to take the credit English language courses at the advanced levels, but at the lower levels, they are non-credit. So you transition. The ELAC courses are all credit, and we have writing for the STEM fields or public speaking. We have writing for the social sciences. We have applied grammar or support. And those courses are all for credit. But the ones in now, we do have this little place in between the IEP and beginning your program where the last term of IEP courses can be credited if they're under an enrollment, but they're under an enrollment in the English language and cultural studies. But for the most part, it's the ELAC courses and the IEP. There are some exceptions to that, and they don't happen so often, but they're available.
Mm-hmm. So there's another question also for Dr.
Let me answer. If you're coming here only for English and then going back to your university, your courses at your university can be accepted whether they're from the IEP or the ELAC courses for credit. So that's up to your university to make that decision. We are an accredited institution, so our courses have been approved by the Department of Education in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. So does age matter for the English language programs? Is there a minimum or maximum age?
Yeah, there is no maximum age. We've had students up to 80 years old. And we require you to be a high school graduate. If you are a high school graduate and you are, our age limit is usually 18, but if you are a high school graduate and you are 17, we will allow students to come, but we want them to live in the residence hall because they are what we call underage. So they live in the residence halls where we are kind of a support system for them. The English language students live in residence halls, they live in graduate apartments, and they also live in homestays. Although during the pandemic, some of that has shifted a little bit, but we'll have more homestays again as the vaccine gets more prominent.
Mm-hmm. There's a question that is for Carl. So somebody's asking whether their bachelor's degree GPA would be considered if it's 2.73, and their master's GPA is 3.8. So can they apply for a master's degree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I saw that question pop up. I think I'm understanding it correctly, and the answer would be yes, absolutely, and we would. Our credential evaluators would look in this case at both your bachelor's and your one-year master's that you've completed. So they would look at, or you would, as part of the application process, you would be asked to submit your bachelor's transcripts or mark sheets and the master's work that you've completed, and then those would be evaluated together. So, because I think that's part of the question, maybe.
The University of Arkansas does their own internal credential evaluation, and they're very familiar. They have this wonderful big book that says these courses in Turkey are equal to this, and so you'll be evaluated fairly. But if you've got a 3.8 at the graduate level, I wouldn't worry.
And in fact, if you submit, sometimes students will submit credentials that have been evaluated by an outside organization. We don't accept those. So if you submit transcripts that have been evaluated, say by Wes, you can do that, but you will still be required to submit transcripts to us so that we can do our own internal evaluation. Yeah, and that ultimately saves you money because you don't have to pay to have Wes or another organization do that. So, other questions?
So we've had a lot of questions, Carl, about internships. So maybe I have answered those, but maybe you want to touch on that.
Yeah. So one of the things that students ask very often is, what are your employment opportunities upon graduation? And there are a couple of different ways that I answer that question. First of all, it does depend a little bit upon what academic program you're pursuing, whether it's engineering or business or chemistry, etc. But one of the things that I always assure students is that your success as a student here at the university also includes preparing you to find employment in your field of study upon graduation. And the university and programs will do everything they can to help you in that regard, whether that is through on-campus career fairs that occur periodically, where employers from around Arkansas and around the country come in and meet with prospective, soon-to-be graduates looking for employment, but also through internships. And many programs will help their students. Most programs will help students who are interested in finding an internship or co-op opportunity. Programs often have connections already made in the field. If you're in business or engineering, for example, a lot of those faculty have come from the field. They've worked in the field before they became professors, and so they know people that are working. They have those connections, and they will be happy to help you find the appropriate internships, co-ops that you're looking for, to give you that practical work experience in addition to your academic experience that then often helps leads to employment upon graduation. So what I tell students is, if your program does not have an internship requirement, which oftentimes at the master's or PhD level they do, especially at the master's level, if they do not have that requirement already built in to the program, and you want to pursue an internship, simply talk to your academic advisor, talk to your major professor, let them know that you're interested, and they will help you find internships, whether it's here in Northwest Arkansas, whether it's abroad, outside of Arkansas. And the last thing to mention about that is the Walmart Corporation has their headquarters here in Northwest Arkansas. And because of a requirement that Walmart has for their vendors, we have about 350 of the world's Fortune 500 businesses with offices right here in Northwest Arkansas. And so that means internship opportunities with some of the world's largest and most successful companies and organizations. So oftentimes students have their internships right here in Northwest Arkansas because there are so many top businesses and organizations here. So internships are widely available. Yes, Leah?
I'd like to add something to this. On your student visa, there's two kinds of practical training you can do. One is called curricular practical training, CPT, and the other is optional practical training, which is OPT. CPT is doing internships while you're getting your degree, maybe during the summer, maybe during breaks, maybe while you're studying, because you are legally able to do that if we go through the approval process through the Office of International Students and Scholars. Optional practical training is 1 year of training after your degree where you are allowed to work off the campus. So CPT and OPT allow you to work off campus, volunteer or paid for various periods of time while you are here. And because we are this incubator place, I don't know that word, an incubator is a place where you put a newborn when they need more oxygen. Well, this is a place where new businesses get oxygen, and companies that work with Walmart get oxygen. And so it's a great place for finding internships, either for CPT or OPT. And many of our students do that. And then even in the English program, we do volunteer work in the community. While it's not paid, it's community service that you begin to get introduced to all of the possibilities both on and off campus. And all students, regardless of the OPT or CPT or volunteer, all students are legally able to work on campus for 20 hours a week, but it must be on campus. You can't work off campus without it being CPT or OPT. But you can work on campus, and there's jobs in food services and housing and little jobs around campus. It's not possible to support yourself 100% on that funding, but it's certainly a way to supplement your income and also meet people and get involved on campus. And you can work 5 hours or 10 hours, but you can't work more than 20. So that's
You can work up to 40 hours a week when classes during breaks, so summer, winter break, but yeah, only 20 hours.
I'll often hire students in the summer to work with our special programs. That's how I met Amelia. She's been working with us for years.
I just want to mention real quick that if you are interested at all in business or entrepreneurship, and you can do those things even if you're outside of the field of business and entrepreneurship directly, we are the home of, Walmart headquarters, and so our Walton College of Business is very, very highly ranked and very prestigious, and they offer awesome opportunities for students of both the undergraduate level and the graduate level to engage in entrepreneurship activities, to found their own businesses, and to participate in competitions. So a lot of our students have gone on to participate in nationwide and worldwide business and entrepreneurship competitions.
With engineering college. So
yes.
A lot of the opportunities for incubator business come out of engineering.
Yeah, so any kind of project or innovation or any kind of invention that you might be working with a team, you can turn that into a business at the university.
We have an entire division for entrepreneurship at the provost and vice provost level. So there's all kinds of opportunities for that here. Yeah, Northwest Arkansas is very a well-kept secret. We kind of want to keep it a secret so it stays special, but word's getting out. We're the third, we've been the 7th, the 10th, the 5th, and the 3rd best place to live in the United States several times. So every time that happens, a bunch of people move here.
Any other questions? We're, I think, probably running out of time here.
There's one last question, Carl, which is a great question and gives us something to prepare for next time, which is about the employment statistics of international engineering graduate students or any international students.
Yeah. If you want to email either Amelia or I, give us your name and email. We can put you in touch with the College of Engineering, and they can actually help provide that information to you, because I don't know it off the top of my head, but we can certainly get that information to you. Just email Amelia or I, and we'll be happy to connect you with that college. Absolutely.
And also we should mention that for very, very strong undergraduate students, we have something called the Honors College. In the Honors College, you can be in any major, but once you are in the Honors College, there's funding resources, and also they support study abroad, they support internships for undergraduates and research, lots of undergraduate research. And so the Honors College is like being in a small liberal arts college inside the big university, which is kind of cool. It's lots of our undergraduate students who finish the Honors College go on to Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and Stanford. It's a good school. It's a very good school.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to hearing from all of you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the three of us if you have any additional questions. We'd love to talk in more detail about the University of Arkansas with you. We can schedule Zoom meetings if you wish to learn more, but please reach out with any questions you have, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes, thank you very much, Carl, Leah, and Emilia, for the great presentation, and you covered all of the questions. We believe it was a really informative webinar for the attendees. Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. University of Arkansas ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için Emilia'nın paylaşmış olduğu mail adreslerinden iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda linkleri de inceleyebilirsiniz. Sizi 5'teki webinarımıza da davet etmek isteriz. Thank you again, you guys. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Or hear from you. Bye. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you,
Leah. Thank you, Amelia.
Thank you, Hazal.